This video is about the purpose of senior design. It's intended to give you a reason why the class is taught the way it is and sort of ground your expectations for the rest of the year. We're going to do this by talking about the 8 aspects of design you've probably seen in previous design courses. This is the diagram we use to represent the 8 aspects of design. To go through them really quickly, the first in red is helping people on the planet. Designs are meant to help people to accomplish things they can't, but they also need to take into account other life on Earth and the fact that we are going through our planet's resources very quickly. In orange, you need to embrace the context. Design is not done in isolation. Designs connect to other things, and understanding the context of the problem is really important to do a successful design. At the top is choosing useful functions. You always have to make choices about what functions your design will perform and how it will perform them, and understanding which of these are important to which stakeholders of your project and implementing the ones that are going to be most useful is a key part of design. In green is designing transparently. This is making the plans, both the plans for how you're going to spend your time, how you're going to spend your money, but also how you're going to architect your project, the functions it's going to perform in what order. And you need to do this in a way that brings in all stakeholders. So you don't just throw a design over the wall, so to speak, or sort of unbox it. Everybody involved in the design should know how things are going. Building responsibly is being able to assemble the tools, getting people with the skills, and being able to build a design in a way that's robust, is of high quality, and is an effective use of resources. Design is not just a one and done. We do design iteratively. And to understand the changes we need to make, you have to improve the performance of the design, which is about testing and measuring what you've got, understanding the level of performance you need, and designing to that level of performance. Of course, at the bottom is creating value. People design things all the time that really don't have very much value for others. So understanding the needs of others and what's going to create value for them and how to do that in a way in a cost-effective manner and time-effective manner is really important. And then last but absolutely not least is being able to act professionally. Work well on a team together. Work in a space of psychological safety. Be able to communicate effectively. Get your ideas across to others. And these are the 8 lenses we look at design through. There are 8 different skill sets you need to apply to your design at different points of time into the design project, but it's not a linear process. We bring these back all the time.
One analogy that's really helpful in design is that of shape illusions or anamorphic art. And I've put in some video clips when I search for anamorphic art here. This is essentially a phenomenon where if you look at something from one perspective, its shape is different than if it's looked at from another perspective. And these videos show some examples of that. Your design project is exactly the same way. There are 8 dimensions. We ask you to look at it, and the project's going to be different and look different from those 8 dimensions. And essentially, each person in the design project may see different aspects of different importance. As a team, you have to come together. You have to essentially negotiate what your project is from these perspectives.
In this diagram of 3 concentric octagonal shapes or octagons. At the outer perimeter is representations. These are the diagrams, these ideas, the way you express the ideas so other people will understand it. If you can't talk about your ideas by putting down an artifact other people can look at, you're not a very good communicator. So representations is the first thing that happens. Once you can present those ideas and communicate them, those lead to results. And the results that you get in design both increases your ability to be a designer, but also the ability of whatever organization you work with to excel in its marketplace, to meet the needs of its clients. And so representations or effective communications leads to results. Results leads to both individual and organizational abilities.
I'd like to end with another analogy. You can think of these 8 perspectives of design, or this octagon, as forming a sandbox. And the sandbox is what you're going to be playing in for the entire year in your senior design project. It starts off as a very open space. It has a lot of potential to build things in. And you need to figure out what you're going to build and how you're going to fill that sandbox. As you move around, you can look at whatever you build from different sides of the sandbox, the 8 different sides we have, but nevertheless, it's still the same project. However, there are some heuristics, some rules of thumb for working in the sandbox that are really important. If you follow these, your design project is more likely to succeed. If you fail to follow them, it's more likely to fail. The first of these heuristics is to bring your own tools. You've learned these in other classes. You have the tools you need to play in the sandbox. Don't wait around to be given tools, because senior design is not going to give you all the tools you need. If you need other tools, you're going to have to learn them and pick up those skills. The second heuristic is to keep learning. Try things out, see if they work. This is a sandbox. It's really easy to construct small things, prototypes and trials, and learn from them. And those small trials can inform your bigger project. The next heuristic is how you move around in the sandbox. You were taught, probably as early as Engineering 100, that design is a cycle, and you move through that cycle. The cycle looks something like this. It's a circle. You start at the beginning, you move through things, you get to the end. But this is wrong. This is not how real designers function. Real designers function more like this. They jump from these different perspectives rapidly and quickly. You need to prototype something? Well, what function does it need to perform? What's the context it works in? How are we going to build it? How do we design it? What value does it create? How well does it work? Can we measure it and improve the performance? Oh gosh, this function doesn't work. Jumping around, not moving linearly, is a real key to success in design. You need to iterate, iterate, and iterate constantly. A place people get stuck in this sandbox is counting the individual grains of sand. No matter what level of detail you're working at, you're going to find an almost incomprehensible amount of information on topics. If you try to understand all of that, look at each grain of sand and each piece of information, you're going to get lost really quickly. You've got to synthesize and integrate this information, and one of the most important things you can do is know what information you can ignore. You have to work together in the sandbox. Be situationally aware. You have a fair number of people on your team, and they all have to play in this sandbox together. If you start moving around randomly and intrude on the space other people are working, you may knock their work down. So look around, connect to your neighbors, see how the part you're working on builds in the larger project. The next rule of thumb is sometimes you need to knock down the sandcastle. It's just sand. If a thing is not going well, if it's not converging, if it's not working well, you may need a completely different approach. So feel free to flatten part of that castle and rebuild it if you need to. But the final heuristic is don't knock down the sandcastle. And I know this sounds contradictory, but you need to know what work you need to keep, what to build on, what forms the real solid structure of your project. And you don't want to go reconsidering that all the time and starting over every month just because you've run into some difficulties. So hopefully this analogy of a sandbox gives you some good clues on how to move through senior design and be successful in it.